to Moving Purpose podcast, and we are well into season 4 with my brilliant guest, Cassandra Maria. Now, this is a super interesting one because she's interviewed me twice, and now we get to switch roles and we get to learn all about all the wonderful things that she does and the woman that she is at heart. She's an award-winning presenter, a broadcaster, a creative, and she's multifaceted in what she does. Cassandra, welcome to the podcast.
Hello!
Woo! Do you know I'm so excited to have you on? We've been trying to make this happen for a little while.
Yes.
And I film on a Friday, you couldn't do Fridays. No. And then sometimes be spontaneous, spur of the moment. Cassie, you free tomorrow? Yes, let's make it happen.
Yeah, so we're here.
I'm so excited to have you on. Can you take me back to the earliest memory of your childhood that gave you an inkling that you were going to be a broadcaster?
The earliest memory is when I used to make up my own plays.
Okay.
And just talk to myself and play both characters. Mm-hmm. And that was me thinking, I really want to be in entertainment. But I didn't know at the time, because when you're doing that as a child, you just think that you're being an imaginative child. But I'd make up like little scenarios like, well, my husband wants to stay with me, and but no, he should. And I just play all these little characters, and then I got into drama.
Okay.
And I loved that. I loved the performance aspect of it. I loved being on stage, and it kind of was that, me making up little plays as a kid, that made me think maybe I'm not going to have a normal desk job.
And what was the landscape for you growing up? Did you have both parents present?
Well, kind of. So my parents are not together.
Okay.
They're still around.
Yeah.
And they're still in each other's lives, but they're just not together. Mm-hmm. So they were both there-ish. I grew up with my mom though, so she's the one that raised us all. Yeah. And my dad would come and do his bit and then go, and then do his bit and then go.
Got you.
Yeah.
And would you say they nurtured that gift of arts?
I think so, because they would always trying to get me into acting. So my mom, she'd get me into the MAC at Cannon Hill Park. They had a little acting class there. My dad, he was trying to get me into the Hippodrome acting class. And so they really did nurture it. They never kind of shot it down. My mom, she never said, you're not very good, or anything like that. They may not have thought I was very good.
Right.
But
they didn't let you know.
They didn't let me know. So they did, and they got us into classes, and they made sure that, as much as they didn't have a lot of money and we couldn't do it for the whole of my childhood, for the bit that I did, it made me think, this is what I want to do,
So as you fast forward to like secondary school and college, was that art still very much prominent in your life? Were you still involved in?
Yes. All the time. I was involved in drama up until university age. Okay. And I remember being at college and thinking, right, I do drama. That's my thing. Drama and art, they're my two things. I liked English as well. But drama and art, they're my things. I could paint and I could act. But going to university, I thought, well, what am I going to do? I can't be Picasso. And I didn't think I was going to be like a famous actress, because I didn't have the belief in myself back then. Okay. So I thought, right, what do I do in university? Because that was the step that you take, that you get told to take anyway. And so I was in college, and I remember I heard someone talking about journalism in the corridors. And I thought, journalism, I like English, I like writing. It's nothing to do with art, but maybe it's something to do with acting or performing or whatever. So I did that. But it didn't feel right not having any kind of arts in my life. And so when I was doing the whole journalism thing and I worked for a newspaper, I remember sitting there thinking, but I feel like I'm not me.
You still felt poor.
Yeah, like I was cast the actress, or cast the one that does painting. I wasn't cast the journalist. Right. So I was in this world, but I just felt like, where's me? I don't feel settled.
So you were studying journalism and media at Coventry Uni. Yes. And you almost felt this pull that it just wasn't enough. What did you do after? Did you manage to finish the degree? I saw that you did a year.
No, I finished it. So I did it was a 4-year degree. The second year someone came in, his name was Stefan. Stefan came in with a big pitch, and he was like, so for your third year, you can go to a different country. Woo. Yeah. And back then, this is when everything was really cheap. So I was paying $3,000 a year. I got all my grants, and they said, essentially, it's funded. We'll pay your rent. You'll still get your grants. You'll get your loans. And I thought, well, that's really great. So I went to Spain. I went to Madrid for a year. I studied, and I say studied because you're meant to study, but then I learned that the grades out there didn't matter. So I thought, why am I studying for? Like, why am I going
in what
to this?
respect?
Like, you would get exams out there, but what mattered to Coventry University was what did they call it? It was an Erasmus year, but you did like a diary throughout the year.
Okay.
And so that's what you were graded on, your diary throughout the year, which I did a vlog and I did like a little written piece. And so that was my grade. In terms of the grades for the studying, that was null and void. So I said, well, why am I wasting my time going to university when I can just walk around all day? So that's what I did.
And literally did tourism?
Yes.
What did you learn about living in Spain? Like, what was it, a culture shift or?
Yeah, it was a massive culture shift. I learned that they're really big on community and family. And so I'd be walking around at like 10 p.m. and you'd see massive families just out in restaurants having fun. Yeah, and I'd be like, oh, this is lovely. The old people out there were really active. So they were just walking about all the time. They're very health conscious. And so I started to think about my own health.
Yeah.
Because I was out there thinking, right, I'm going to get McDonald's all the time because the McDonald's out there has chicken wings.
Yeah.
And so I was really adamant that I was going to always have these chicken wings until I got out there and I was like, oh, I tried them and actually I don't want that anymore. No.
Right.
So I learned, they're very big on community. I think it taught me how to adapt to different types of people because out there I met people from Canada, from Australia, from America, and I never met so many different types of people before from all around the world. And so I just adapted a lot. And that was actually the year also that I was baptized. Nice. So I went out there as like a whole new person and I really tapped into my faith. I went to a Nigerian church, which again was a whole new experience as well. A Nigerian church in Spain, it was quite mad because the pastor was Spanish, but then you had like a whole Nigerian congregation.
Wow.
It was just mad, but I learned a lot about just different types of people and how wonderful the world is because I didn't know, you know that there's different types of people because you see them on TV and you see them here, you see them there. But in terms of being from Birmingham.
To experience it tangibly. Yeah.
And so it was a great year. I loved it.
What led you to the baptism? Was there like an ultimate life shift decision that's like, I'm going to give my life to God, or was it gradual?
Well, we were brought up as Christians. So my mom, she was very adamant that, you know, she's a Christian, we're going to be Christians. But she never forced it on us. She took us to church as kids and then we stopped going to church. And then I, throughout my teenage years, didn't really care for anything spiritual. I always had it in the back of my mind. So I wasn't trying to be, you know, partying all the time or whatever. It was always there, but I didn't actively care about it. And then I got to 19 and I'm going to give away my age now, but the year 2012 was coming up. Yeah. And you know, in 2012, when everyone was saying that the world's going to end, right, I got really scared that the world was actually going to end. Genuinely. I really thought, I believed the lie and I said, right, the Mayan thing is all happening, the world's going to end. And I just felt this pull to go back to church. And I remember I was 19, I had like a year and a half of partying and clubbing and drinking. And I just thought, yeah, it's time now. So then I started going to the church and I got baptized, and that was the start of this long 12-year Christian journey that I've been on, despite the fact that I always grew up with that. Because like I said, my mom, she bought us Bibles, she made us pray. I knew the Lord's Prayer. I knew all of that. But in terms of my personal relationship with God, that started then,
How did it start to change your appetite for life?
Oh, it changed completely, because the church that I was going to at the time, it was one of these churches that believed that women shouldn't wear makeup, jewelry, you know, jeans.
Old school.
Very old school.
Yeah.
And so I started to go to this church and I literally just did a whole 360 change. I stopped going out clubbing, I stopped drinking, I stopped everything. I just changed. Everyone around me at the time was like, wow, Cass, you're like, what's happened? You know, some were quite concerned because some of the things I was doing was quite drastic in terms of, you know, no more jeans, can't wear that.
Oh, really?
Skirts down to my ankles. And yeah, and when I moved to Spain, the church that I was there in Spain, they used to always comment on this because I would always turn up in like my long skirts and my hats. So I used to wear hats to church. I believed that, you know, you have to cover your head. And
as
they
in
were
the
like,
proper church hats?
yeah. And so I had a hat.
No.
And they were like, Cash, you ain't got to do all of this. And I was like, no, but I do, man. You don't understand. But like, I just thought this is because when I, it's interesting because at the time I would have said it's because I loved God so much. And I think it was that, but also it was the pressure of being in an environment where if you're not doing that, you don't love God as much as that person. So it was a tricky time.
Yeah.
But yeah, literally everything changed. And a lot of people around me were like, wow, this is a very drastic and very quick change.
Did you stay in that drasticness for long, or was there like a
4 years?
Wow.
I went to that church for 4 years and I stayed in it, and I was very much like, right, can't wear any of these things. I got rid of all my jeans. I had a little iPod and it had all my favorite songs on there.
Secretly listening?
No, this is the thing. I said, right, you can throw that out. I regret it now because that had some bangers that I don't even remember the name of. Yeah. There's one, and I don't know if anyone's going to remember this, but I've been trying to find this song for years, and it goes...
Go on, please.
It's a Birmingham-based artist, and it goes, oh, giddy, giddy, gosh, oh, gosh. Oh, giddy, giddy, gosh, oh, gosh. Oh, giddy, giddy, gosh, oh, gosh. Giddy, giddy. No? Right. So that's a really good song. Yes! Yes! And it was one of my favourite songs, and it was on that iPod, and I got rid of it, and I've never been able to find it since. I don't know who sang it. I don't know where it come from. I just know it was on there. But anyway, so yeah, I got rid of that. And yeah, I was in that church for about 4 years.
When you look back now at that experience, what would you have done differently?
Everything. I wouldn't have went to the church. I would have maybe first not went to a church that was so adamant that your outside reflects your inside. Because as much as the Bible does say, you know, your outside will reflect your heart and all these different things, I think some, not all, but they had it a bit backwards. Yeah. So they worked on the outside first rather than the inner and letting that change who you are. It's like you went there and automatically you feel as though, oh, I can't wear these jeans because they're looking at me, or I have to cover my head because they've said I do. But no one gives you any kind of reason. Why do I need to cover my head? Why can't I wear jeans? It's just the way it is. There's no questioning it. There's no exploration. So I think I would have, when I had that pull to go back to a church, because at this time as well, I didn't know about different denominations. Right. So I just thought church was church. Yeah. And that was it. I thought all churches were the same. So when I was asked to go to this church, I was like, yeah, sure. I'll just go to your church. Cool. Yeah. Thinking it was just like any other church on the planet, but actually it wasn't. And so I think I would have maybe went to my mom. Okay. And said, Mom, I want to start going to church. Let's go. Rather than trying to do this journey individually and then getting into a church that wasn't great for me. And, you know, yeah. So that's probably what I would have done. Just taken a step back, went to the people around me and explored a little bit for myself before committing to such a drastic
Was there change. A lot of unlearning in that? Because 4 years is a long time to adapt to what was the major unlearnings that you had to kind of unpick?
From going to that church?
Yeah.
Well, the main one was when I came out of that church, I believed that that denomination was the old denomination going to heaven. So I had to unlearn that and open up to the possibility that if I go to a church that isn't this particular church, God will still love me. Right. And so, because I believed that for so long, I believed that I can't marry a man unless he's in this denomination, unless he's in this particular church. And so just dating guys that didn't go to that church or had no idea what that denomination was and thinking that they were good Christians. Because I had that thought in my head that if you're not part of that, you ain't making the cut. And so that was really deep in me. And after a while I learned, actually, no, you can date who you want. You know, if they love God, it's fine. Like, it's okay. You can go to whatever church you want. As long as you love God and they are good people, it's fine. So yeah, there was all of that. And then of course wearing jeans again, hence the jumpsuit today.
And it's fire.
I know.
Rest in peace to the 4 years you wasn't wearing any jeans.
Because those skirts, man, they were long, ankle length, like just all the way down to my feet. And I'm just tripping over them like, oh man, what a time.
So you come back from Milan. And then do you finish off a university course?
Yes. So I did 2 years in Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I went to Milan.
Madrid, sorry, yeah.
Milan would have been great. 2 years in Madrid. No, 1 year in Madrid, 2 years in Coventry. And then I came back and did my final year in Coventry.
Right. And then kickstarted your career where?
Well, I spent 2 years in foot asylum because I couldn't get a job.
Okay, and that's part of uni we don't talk about enough.
Yeah, no, I couldn't find a job and I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
So I think at this point, 22. And yeah, I just didn't know because again, that feeling of I wanted to do acting was still there. But I thought, how do I do that? Am I too old? Am I even talented? I've never had any training. And I just knew I didn't want to do something like, I don't know, just a normal job. I wanted to do something creative. And so I spent 2 years just like, oh, what do I do? I went to go work for Foot Asylum in Bullring. I went to go work for New Look. I went to work for, where else? Actually, I did both of those simultaneously. So I'd have one shift there and then go straight to the other one afterwards. And it was a very long day. But I was paid and that was great.
Still had a hand in the arts or?
No, at this point I had no hand whatsoever. I was just living. But again, I felt really unsettled because I was like, I want to do something creative, but I don't know what to do. So then I started to do my own YouTube videos. Okay. And I had a series called Just Talk. And what I wanted it to be was I would ask people to just talk about something that they liked or loved. And I would film them but kind of hide their identity. Okay. So you kind of, you gave them the flexibility to just talk about whatever it is without feeling as though they were going to be
And
revealed.
how did they hide?
Well, they didn't. I would just film like their foot or film their hand or film like their chin. I wouldn't film their face until at the end I'd say, this is their face. I did one with my friend from school. Her name's Cerise. She was a model. And so she was talking about, you know, the curve industry and how she's going to get into it. And then at the end I did her face and said, Cerise, you know, model. Right, got you. So I did that just because I wanted to do something creative, I guess. And I didn't know where to put that creative energy.
So what led you to switch radio and a couple of the other radio stations that you got onto in Brum?
Well, I left university. I went to go work at all these different places and I realised that I wanted to do radio. But before that, I went to go work for the Derby Telegraph newspaper as a video journalist. And it was when I was there that I realised, after going every single day and hearing this really bad, terrible news, because that's what the news is, it's all really bad and terrible, I just thought, I want to do something creative. So that's when I started my Instagram. And my Instagram originally was motivational videos because I wanted to talk life into people. So that's what it started out as. And then it progressed into little sketches and random thoughts that I would share. And then it progressed into comedy. But when it started to kind of grow, I remembered my university course and how much I just loved radio. I just loved it. And yeah, the TV was great. I never liked writing the news. I thought it was really boring. But radio, I just found really fun. So then when I was at this newspaper and I started my Instagram and it started to get a little bit of traction, I was like, maybe I should try and get on a radio station somewhere and have a show. So I reached out to New Style, Switch, Brum Radio, The Beat 103.6 in London. And I just said to them all, hi, my name's Cassandra. Here's my Instagram. I've got a few thousand followers. Can I have a show?
Like, literally that simple.
Yeah, like, can I have a show? And then some of them said yes. In fact, I think all of them said yes. So I went in for trials at Brum Radio with a guy called Danny and a girl, can't remember what her name was, but she works for Capital now. They really helped. Mally B at New Style really helped me to work a switchboard. So I didn't know how to do all this stuff. And so I think it was a Saturday I was doing there, and he would just bring me in every Saturday and he would produce the show, and it was fun. I loved doing that. And then Switch Radio, I had a show there as well, and that kind of helped me to learn again how to do a desk on my own, right? Because there was no producer, it was just me, and how to interview people more and build a show.
So are you literally doing all the bits and speak all of it yourself?
Yeah, but it was fun. I loved it, and I liked, doing all the little buttons, and it was just really fun. And then London, I travelled down to London to do that. radio station there, and that kind of taught me more about, I guess, music wise, because it was a music station. And so yeah, it kind of came from remembering that I really loved radio and thinking, what can I actually do in this industry that I love and it will pay me. I wasn't being paid at this point, I was signing on, but what can I do that I love and it will pay me and I could do it forever. And
I was going to ask you that question, Cass, of when does it turn from hobby to career? At what point is it paid work?
Well, for me, it was when I joined Premier Gospel. Right. So that was when I was 27. So that was 5 years ago. Yeah. Prior to that, I wasn't getting paid for radio anywhere. So I did, like I said, voluntary at Switch, New Style, The Beat. I did something on Rinse FM in London with Despa Robinson, and he brought me on, and I was so grateful because I was like, oh, what do you mean, me? But he was like, yeah, do you want to do a show? And I was like, yeah, sure. Don't know why me, but sure. But yeah, so none of that was paid though. So all of that was voluntary. And at that point, I think I had left my job at the newspaper because I found it really sad and depressing. Okay. Going in every single day, and they were just talking about car crashes, and they were like, 3 people have died. Woo. Really? You know, because that gets hits. Yeah. And I found that I was starting to think like that as well. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that I was going in every day thinking, there's been an accident and I can make a video about this and it's got to get a lot of views. It just starts to get into your brain. And so I left and I went to go work part-time for a charity in London, Monday, Tuesday. And that's when I would go to London and do like London stuff and come back to Birmingham, do Birmingham stuff. And I was signing on. I was at the job centre every week. Yeah. And I remember I said to them, guys, I want to be a radio presenter. And they were like, how do you propose you're going to get there? And I was like, well, I don't know, but you guys are the job centre. You tell me, innit? Like, what do you mean? You're the guys with the careers and that. But like, I don't know. But yeah, so it wasn't paid up until I started to work at Premier Gospel Radio. And that's when it's now, you know, my career, it funds my life. So.
And how did you land that job? Was it another cold email?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
It was a random, so I was sat in at the time I was hosting a breakfast show in Hales Owen on a station called Atlas Radio. Yeah. Quite a dodgy station, not gonna lie.
Why?
Just quite a dodgy station. Very dodgy station. They may, I'm not gonna go into it, but they were quite a dodgy station. Yeah. And I wasn't happy there. Right. And it was breakfast and it was very early in the morning. And so I was just literally sat there. And I thought, I would love to present Premier Gospel. And I'd known about Premier Gospel since I was like 20. I think they were like 2 years old at this point. But I remember I entered a competition and I won it. And I was like, oh, this is really great. It's a Christian radio station. Yeah. And they just play Christian music. Amazing. And I was just sat there and I said, that's where I want to be. If I'm going to present about anything, it's great being on One Extra and Capital and they're needed and they're great. But if I'm going to present about anything, I want it to be about God. Right. And I kind of just had that aha moment. Like, if I'm going to do it, that's what I want it to be. Yeah. So I messaged them on Twitter and I just said, hi, my name's Cassandra. I would really love to present here. And if there's any way that can happen, let me know. And randomly, the producer that's there now, his name's Tala. He said he was randomly just checking the DMs at the time. Right. And he said he saw my message. And at the time, there was a lady there who did the breakfast show, really talented presenter called Lady T, who actually is the woman that I entered the competition with like 10 years before, which is really funny. But she was leaving. And so they were looking for someone to fill her slot. And so he said it was just coincidence that I had messaged at that time. And they opened up the applications and I applied and I went for my interview. And they've said to this day, no one has ever given a better interview. Really? Which, because I came with a little presentation and everything. I said, right, here's what I can do for you. Yeah. I was so nervous. I went there and I was like, ooh. And
How many people in the interview?
There was 2. Okay. But my boss if you don't know him, he's just really big and he's got a really deep voice and he's very, he doesn't laugh or smile. And I was just sat there like, this guy. Yeah. So like, why is he like this? Like, I'm so nervous. And the last question that he asked me, he was like, so how's your relationship with the Holy Spirit? And I was like, oh, sir, why are you asking me this question? what do you mean? Like,
You literally answered it like that.
No, I said it's getting there. I said, it grows every day, but inside I was like, oh my gosh, what a question. I don't know what you meant to say to that. What's the correct answer? Because I can't say, oh, perfect, because it's not. Then I can't say, oh, it's really bad, because then it's a Christian station. So I was like, it's getting there. It's a work in progress. And I'm hearing from the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. But it got me the job. So,
okay, good. It got you on the line.
I'm there now. So yeah, that was when it started to become paid.
That's really interesting that they asked that. So do they require all their staff to have relationships with? Yeah.
It's preferable.
Okay.
Because you're doing Christian work. I mean, not all the staff are Christian. And there's some people that work in sales that aren't Christians. But if you're going to be talking on the radio, then it's preferable that you believe in God, because if you don't and you get on the radio and you're like, that was a really great song without the God, but I liked it all around the God, I don't think they would like that. So it's preferred.
I remember having the absolute honour to come up to your station, actually, to your specific slot, and we spoke a little bit about, I had a new book coming out at the time, and we spoke about celibacy and relationships, etc. And you just made me feel really comfortable. You made me feel really welcome in the space. I felt like I could just talk and be myself. What environment do you try to create for your guests when you have them on?
I think it's that. I think I always kind of say to guests, and as I've progressed over the last 5 years, whenever they come in now, I'm like, right, this is just a conversation. Yeah. I'm not like, just because I'm on this station, it doesn't mean that I've got everything perfect in life. Just talk, innit? Just be yourself. And yeah, let's just chat. And so I kind of tried to make it warm, welcoming. I really like interesting topics. So if I've got you on and we're talking about something in particular, I want you to feel as though this isn't just an interview. This is, I'm actually interested in what you're saying. Yeah. And I think even if you're not interested in what the person's saying, it's important to make them feel like that. Because you'll get the best out of them if you make them feel like what you're saying is the most interesting thing on the planet right now. You are like the star of the show. Yeah. So yeah, I try to just make it as comfortable as possible.
What's been your biggest career highlight at Primary Gospel to date?
Oh, I was recently promoted to program manager.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Which is essentially managing the programming, which I had never had a promotion before in my life. And so it was a nice, more than nice is such a basic word, but it was a very, what's the word? I don't know. It was just nice. I'm saying nice again. It was nice to be honored. Okay. It was nice to be recognized. Yeah. And it was nice to have someone say, we've been seeing what you've been doing. And actually, we really like it. And so, yeah, I'd say that because this was a station that, like I said, when I first became baptized and I entered that competition as like a little 19-year-old and I won and they sent me a CD, I was so excited. And even on my Twitter, where I've sent the message to come and work for the station, if you just scroll up a bit, you can see the competition that I entered.
Sick.
You can see that. And I will remember the feeling of just feeling like, oh, this is the dream. What a dream it is to work at a Christian radio station where I can just talk about God and that's it. And so the fact that now I am just some girl from Birmingham, essentially managing the station, it's like, how did I get here? But yeah, I think that's probably been the highlight.
What does the shift in responsibilities look like?
Oh, well, I have to kind of manage people now.
Right. How are you finding that?
Well, they might watch this, so no, I really enjoy it. Good. Because it's not like I was completely new into management because I'd done film directing before, and I feel like I've always not been bossy. You don't be, as a manager, you're not bossy. Yeah. But I enjoy working with people. Okay. And I enjoy kind of finding out what it is that they want to do in their life and pushing them to do that. I enjoy responsibility. I really like having things to do. So for me, it wasn't like a massive, major shift. The workload has got a bit more, but I enjoy it. So it just felt like I was always meant to be, I feel like I was doing that anyway, inadvertently kind of managing people and saying, maybe we should do this with our social media. Maybe we should do this with this. So yeah, it wasn't like a drastic change.
Give me an example of a day in the life.
A day in the life. Well, right now I work from home, so I just
Yeah.
roll out of bed, go to work like, at my desk. No, so I'll wake up, I go to the gym. Most mornings I try to do that because it just helps my life. Makes me feel very aligned and centered.
Yeah.
I listen to the Bible in the gym, not every morning, because sometimes I want to listen to grime.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Understood.
Sometimes it's
Favorite
Exodus.
grime artist?
Sometimes, at the moment, it's JME.
I
I go through phases.
Okay.
I go through phases of like different kinds of music, and right now I'm on a grime phase, and I don't know why. It's just hit me, and I'm like, right, this is where I am, and that's okay. So,
does it motivate you in the gym?
It does.
Me, to be fair, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like,
bit of
yeah,
EBK.
let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go. My treadmill just running. But yeah, so I'll do that. But I'm trying to do Bible in a year at the moment, so I'm frequently trying to listen to the Bible more in the gym, which is very motivating.
Yeah. And what's the voice? Because this is important.
It's a very boring voice.
Oh, Cass.
Well, it's not boring, but he's not like fun.
Right.
He's just very much like, in the beginning, God created man.
And you listen to that in the gym?
Yeah.
Doing what? On the treadmill?
Everything. All the things. Weights, squats, deadlifts, you know. Just the
that
Exodus.
voice?
Yeah. Because you know what it is? The gym music is so intense.
Right, yeah.
When I have my headphones on, I don't have noise cancelling headphones because I'm not rich. Okay. So I've just bought TK Maxx headphones and they don't cancel out noise. Right. So if I have that and then my music is too much.
Yeah, understood.
Whereas the Bible is very dry and I can just listen to it, and there's parts of the Bible that are really fun as well. And they're quite like interesting, and I'm listening thinking, oh, this happened in the Bible? What do you mean? So yeah, it's not a bad thing to listen to. I would recommend.
Okay. So you come out from the gym and then do you have to log on by a certain time?
Yes, by 9:15.
Okay.
So come out from the gym, get changed, of course, and then log on 9:15 first meeting. It's just a roundup of the day. Second meeting at 9:30. Then I will plan my shows for the day because they're every single day. I do 2 a day and 1 on Saturdays. They're pre-recorded. Sometimes I do them as live, but because they're in the evenings, I can't always do that.
Yeah.
So I'll plan them. What's been happening? What do I want the show to look like? Do I have any guests that I'm going to interview? Do I have any interviews that I can use from the past to tie into this show? There's meetings throughout the day. So because the team is so big, and at Premiere, there's different brands. So there's magazine brands. There's 3 different radio stations. There's podcasts. There's all kinds of things.
How many employees across the organisation?
I want to say about 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big team.
It's a very big team. It's a very big organisation. We do a lot. But every day at 2 we'll meet and we'll kind of cross-collaborate on stories. Okay. So if I have a story and I'll say, oh, I interviewed this person, then the woman's magazine might be like, oh, she sounds really great. Can we have her for the cover of the magazine? And so we meet and we talk, we pray quite a lot in meetings, which is really nice because you don't get to do that everywhere. And I just record my shows, plan them. I also kind of manage our social media accounts as well. So I'll take like an overview of what's happening on there, what's working. Yeah. If I need to redo the whole structure or template system, which I recently did because I got bored of the old ones. And I was like, right,
new one.
We're starting again, guys. Let's go. So I just did it all again. And if I have to do that, I'll do that. Then just working with the team to make the station sound better, coaching some of the presenters, listening back to the shows and having meetings with them and saying this worked, this didn't, this is what you can maybe change, coming up with new ideas for content as well. What do the Christian community want? What should we be doing more of? What should we be doing less of? So yeah, that's my day. Finish at 5:15 to 5:20, have my dinner, watch some Netflix. Watch Bob's Your Uncle, yeah.
What's really poignant about what you said is getting the opportunity to pray with your team. So I remember coming out of uni, I studied teaching, I featured in maths, and then walked straight into a job at King Solomon International Business School. And our obviously ethos at the time was a Christian school, and our team was most people on the team were saved. And having Monday meeting kick off with everyone praying was just life-changing, particularly coming from spaces where I've worked in places where people don't believe in God. How have you found that to be pivotal for you?
It changed my life because when I started at Premier Gospel, my faith was very much on the decline.
Right.
Because of the church that I was in my early 20s, and so much happened in that church that was just so terrible.
Yeah.
And when I left it, I said, I don't even want to do this whole faith thing anymore. I think I was like 24, 25. And so I spent the next 2 years not going to church.
Yeah.
Not even thinking that if Christianity is the way. I didn't trust people that went to churches. I was very much in the camp of church people are the worst. And
I get that.
when I started at Premier Gospel, I had been going to New Jerusalem for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And randomly, because I just randomly got the urge to start going back to church, which now I believe is God. He was kind of preparing me for this job at Premier Gospel. But I was going back to church for 6 months, but I still had these, I was still quite skeptical and still quite untrusting of the people in church.
Okay.
So I was there, but I was still very much like, I'm going to kind of keep myself to myself, but I'm here because I feel like God's telling me to go to a church, but I don't know if I should be here. And then when I started at Premier Gospel, my manager in particular, his name's Moiwa, he is such an amazing man. And he would hate me if I was saying this, because whenever you compliment him, he just tells you to shut up. But he's always just like, oh, go away. But he's such an amazing man in that he's a really wonderful husband, really wonderful father. And he's a man of God. And so when I started at this station, having his influence, and he kind of spoke to me about my faith journey and how I got to this point that I'm at now. And he was just very, very open. He was almost like a therapist in that I could just say things to him and he'd help me to work through them. And then there's other people on the team that, again, you would have prayer with in meetings, and just having that regularity of, I guess, spiritual things that I had dropped for a few years because I was not in a good place with my faith. Having that come back into my world on such a regular basis, like every morning we're meeting and we're praying. And I wasn't doing that for myself. It just changed the whole of everything for me, and I started to feel my faith come back. And it's not to say everyone there is perfect, and it's not to say that Christians in general have to be perfect for you to believe, but I think it just reminded me of what I loved about the Christian community and faith, and it made me feel like myself again. Because I think when I wasn't in church and I wasn't doing any of this stuff and I was distancing myself from it, I didn't feel myself. It's a bit like with the acting and creative stuff as well. I didn't feel settled, and so I was very unsettled. And so when I came back into this rhythm of people that believed in God, and they're not like uppity Christians, they were just very real, very down to earth. Good. I was like, yeah, this is great. And it just pulled me back into wanting to be a Christian again and trusting, I guess, people, because I had stopped doing that. But so it changed the whole landscape of everything, really.
As well as that whole like community at work, would you say there's other factors that you had to put into play to kind of like heal from the trauma?
Yeah, I went to therapy. Yeah. I went to therapy. So it's funny though, because my first round of therapy, it helped, but it didn't really help.
What kind of therapy?
It was, I don't know, man. I just spoke to her about my life and she gave me advice. But it helped.
Advice or?
Sometimes it was helpful. Sometimes it weren't. Yeah. I mean, she once told me that she as a woman, she doesn't go out to dates with men unless she can see the food being cooked in the kitchen. Oh. And that was her standard for herself. Now, that wasn't very helpful advice because you can't always see that. Like, and they're very expensive places. But anyway, so some of it was helpful, some of it wasn't. Okay.
Through the NHS or just private?
So I went through, I think when I was really, so I left that church and I just remember I was really down and just really not in a good place. And I went through the NHS route. I think I went through, is it Healthy Minds? And I did like group therapy or something like that. It was like a 9-week course.
Oh, okay. With other people on the sessions?
Yeah. Because I wasn't sure I think they assess you and then they give you what they think suits you or something like that. And so I did that. And so they assessed me and they said, we think you could really benefit from group therapy. And in that group therapy is when I realized I didn't open up because I'm not going to do that with strangers. But in that group therapy is when I learned that my thoughts were really bad.
Yeah.
So they had an exercise in one of the weeks and they were like, right, it was a case study. And at the end of it, you had to pick what line of thought you would immediately go with. And so one of them was a negative one and one of them was a positive one. And when I read the negative one, I thought, oh, yeah, that's just normal. When I read the positive one, I was like, no one thinks like that. That's not normal. Who thinks like that? But then they were like, no, that's what you're meant to think like. You're meant to be that positive. You're meant to be on that side of it. And I was like, oh, I just thought everyone's default was to go straight to that one. But no. So that's when I started this whole kind of mind journey. And then I went to therapy, one-on-one therapy.
Yeah.
And she helped a bit. And then I stopped. And then I went back into therapy, I think a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. Then I stopped that. And now I feel all right.
So are you...
That's all right as you can.
Are you now? Are you someone that will go when you feel like you need it, or do you have it consistently?
No, I'll go when I feel like I need it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, A, it's very expensive. And
I hear it.
listen, it's a lot of money. And if I'm all right,
I don't need to spend the money.
that's £50 a week that I can literally be spending on something else. So I don't need to be doing all that. But I think whenever I've gone to therapy, it's because I've really felt like I need this. And I didn't know what I needed. I just knew I needed someone else to look into my mind and say, what's going on in here isn't all right.
Yeah.
And just to help you, because therapists, they're not going to fix your life unless you do the work. They're not going to come in and just change everything for you. They're not going to change everything. You can go to therapy and come out of it and be the exact same person unless you're doing the things that they're telling you to do. If you go in and they say, oh, we feel like this will, help. If you take a look at this over here, we'll change that relationship over there. And you come out and you don't do that. And then you're like, well, therapy's not working. Well, because you're not working. So, but yeah, it's whenever I felt like I've needed someone. It's a bit like the gym. Like you can go to the gym on your own if you want, and that can work, or you can go through life and never have anyone just peek in and say, what are you doing? But it's very helpful if you have someone at different points in your journey, a personal trainer, look in and say, right, what you're doing here, let's just change it a bit so you can get better results. And I think it's the same for your mental health. Just someone to look in and say, not that they're perfect, but they're trained. They know more than what I do about the mind. So look in and say, that could do a bit of tweaking. Yeah. How about you change this and then see what happens? So yeah, I'm not like a consistent rich person who can afford therapy 24/7. Like, I'm going to just call my therapist. No. No.
Where did the comedy come from?
I don't know, People ask me this all the time. I was never the funny sibling. And so I feel like when I went into comedy, everyone was like, oh, why? Like, I've got 7 siblings. And so, yeah, I was never the
youngest, middle,
no,
child syndrome?
I'm just one of the I'm just one of them. Like, one of the middle kids that I don't like to call myself an accident. Yeah. But I feel like 8 children is a lot of children. Wow. And whether my mom planned that, I don't know. 6 of us are the same parents. 2 of them have a different dad. Okay. So
that's a lot of kids.
Just one of the middle kids. But I don't know where it came from. I used to always love comedy. So growing up, I'd get home from school and I'd watch Paul O'Grady on Channel 3. Right. Loved him. I just loved him. Don't know why. Just loved him. Cat Williams. I would watch that all the time in school with his little green jacket and his little poem. Loved it. Could quote it. I just loved, I guess, making people laugh. Yeah. I always loved to be that person that could crack a joke and people just laugh at it. But I didn't realize that that was something I might go into in terms of life until I started to do it. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I feel like I like this. And I thought everyone liked to do that. I thought everyone liked to crack jokes and make people laugh. And it wasn't until I experienced new people. And some people don't do that. Some people don't make jokes.
Right.
Ever. They don't care to make people laugh. And I was like, oh, so this obviously is like something that I was born to do or born with, that maybe I should lean into, because not everyone has that, not pressure, but if I'm in a room and it's a bit dead, I will feel like, right, there needs to be some type of...
Are you that person to break the ice?
Yes.
Yeah.
If I walk into a room, I'm the person to be like, right, what's going on? I'm that person, not the loudest person in the room by any means. I'm not, the most extroverted person. I'm not that. But I would definitely be the person that isn't afraid to break the ice.
Right.
But I thought everyone wasn't afraid to break the ice, but apparently not. So, yeah, I think it came from, loving comedy as a kid, loving comedy into my adulthood. I have a really funny family. We use comedy all the time to bond. If we had arguments growing up, we'd always make friends by like making a little joke. Right. So we just used comedy all the time, and I didn't realize it had such an impact on my life until I started to get into it. And I was like, yeah, I feel like this has been quite important to me over the years.
What does your preparation look like? Let's say you're preparing like something for Instagram or a live show. What does that prep look like?
Oh, well, at the minute, Instagram, I'll just do content.
Okay.
So if I have an idea, I'm just trying to just get it done. I've kind of stopped doing content over the last few years just because work has become more important. And I've been trying to work out what kind of content I actually want to put out there. But in terms of stand-up shows, I've been doing more of those. Nice. And I think the preparation is mental brain work, to be fair. It's just not convincing myself, but reminding myself that people like me. Right. Because I think when you get up on a stage, and again, my negative default in life was people don't like me. I don't know why I had that. It was just my default. These people are not going to like me. They don't like me. They don't like me. So when you get up on a stage with that thought, and you've got 150 people, 200, 700 people looking at you, and you're thinking, these people don't even like me, it throws you off. So my now preparation is reminding myself that I'm liked. And even if they don't like me, that's okay. People don't have to like you. And that's essentially it. In terms of rehearsing my set and the jokes and all those types of things, that all comes if you feel as though you're liked. I feel like you flourish when you feel settled in where you are. And so at the moment, it's working through that. It's how do I feel settled enough that I can get my jokes out? Because if I'm not settled, they won't come out. If I'm not settled, I won't be able to think of something really quick to say because I'm just trying to, feel settled. So at the minute, it's just settling my nerves and getting it into my head that it's all right.
How do you navigate when nobody's laughing? Have you ever had that?
Yeah.
What do you do? It must be so awkward.
It's really fun. It's one of the best feelings because you realise you don't die.
Okay.
And it's so free. The first time this happened to me was in London. And I went out and I said my first joke and literally no one laughed.
Not a soul.
Not a soul. And I was looking and I was like, right, what do I do now? So I continued with my set. I said my second joke. No one laughed. And I said, right. Okay, this is clearly how this is gonna go. And that's fine. That's okay. I'll just continue. But I learned a lot about myself in that moment because I always thought I would stop.
Yeah. And you just carried on.
I just carried on. And at the end I said, right, well, clearly that wasn't very funny to you guys. Here's the next guy. And hopefully you'll like him. Funny. And then they laughed.
Oh,
and
how
I was
annoying.
Like, right, you started just, but you learn a lot about yourself. You learn that the worst thing in the world has happened on the stage and you were right. Yeah. You don't die. So what? No one laughed.
Do you try and read the room or just stick to the script?
Well, when I first started comedy, I would just stick to the script because I wanted to just get through really quick. If no one laughed, I just want to get over that moment. Like let's go
next.
Now, I'm learning how to read the room. So if no one laughs, you can say stuff like, clearly you didn't like that then, or something just to let them know I see you not laughing. Okay, and that's okay. Actually, I'm good. So continue to not laugh. And they like that. So I think now I'm learning how to read the room and kind of go off of what's happening rather than this is the rest of my set and I'm just going to stick to it. It's looking at what's going on. I think one of the biggest laughs I got was at a little small club in Dudley. And I was doing my jokes and they were laughing. But then this guy came in, right, and he dragged a chair from the door to the front. And I'm doing my jokes and you could hear And I said, mate, are you going to sit down at any point? Like, and everyone really laughed because he was just working with what's going on in the room. Because everyone was like stopping and looking at him.
Like, you're making a scene.
Yeah, you are making a scene and she's up there. She's trying to tell jokes. And so just reading the room and being in that moment and saying, I can see what's happening here. He's doing something quite irritating. Why are you dragging the chair and not just picking it up? I don't know. But stop. And they really appreciate that. I'm learning how to read the room.
I've seen a lot of people say that comedy is a way to manage pain or escape from it. Do you find that resonates with you?
Sometimes. Yes. I mean, it's funny. Since I've been with my fiance, he's very observant, which is great, but also not great. Okay. Because if I have something to bring up with him...
You put it in your jokes.
I don't know. I don't put it in my jokes.
Okay.
Yet. Have you watched my latest sketch? Because I'm just saying, like, you do with that what you will. No, it's not. If I have something to bring up with him, I'll always go to him and go, with a really smiley face. And that's when he knows I have something really serious to say to him. But immediately, I'm saying it in a really comical way. Right. Because I'm almost trying to disarm myself from being in touch with my emotions. Okay. Because if I go in and say, with a smiley face, then it's not as intense. And so I think that's probably how I've used comedy to not be as intense. Don't try it though, because you should be intense and you should have a moment of authenticity and connection. I'm a little too
intense because I'm just Bex at this point. But maybe if I'm going with the it might just calm the...
It does, but then you don't get to the root of it. Part, so he'll be like, don't just say it as it is. Don't laugh it off. Right. You know, my old therapist said the same thing. I'd say something really serious and then laugh at the end. And she was like, why are you laughing at the end of that? That's not funny. And I was like, yeah, but it's serious. So why would I not laugh? But I'm learning to not do that and actually just be in the moment. If something is uncomfortable to feel.
To just feel it.
And if I want to cry about something, I'll just cry. And what's really funny with him is that I have always been really adamant that I'm not a crier. But because he now sees me more than what most people do, I will cry all the time. And he's like, oh, you are a crier. You absolutely are. Like, I didn't realise. And I was like, well, neither did I. But normally I'm on my own, just crying to myself. You can't hide it from your fiance because he's just there. But yeah, so I think that's how I've used comedy in a non-helpful way. Okay. To kind of disconnect from the emotion in a moment and just laugh things off. But actually, you should be able to connect with emotions in the moment, and you should be able to go through whatever emotions come up, just go through it. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah, you might cry, but, you know, get some tissue.
Has it been a coping mechanism for you, would you say?
Yeah, yes, actually, it's that. So it's, if something is too much, let's make a joke.
Okay.
And that's, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. So for example, how many years ago was this now? About 10 years ago, my sister lost her daughter.
Sorry to hear
stillbirth. Her name was Kiara. And she was allowed to take her home for a few days. Yeah. And there was a moment that to this day, we say was hilarious. But in that environment, I remember I was holding Kiara in my arms and I was rocking her because that's what you do with babies, but you don't realise that she doesn't feel this. I don't know, it's like a weird state, but I was rocking her and I was eating chocolate buttons at the same time. So I was eating these buttons and I was rocking, and my sister was sat on the settee there. And then I was eating a button and it dropped out my mouth onto her forehead. Yeah. And it just went, oh! And I looked at my sister and I was like, what's going to happen? Is she going to flip? Is she going to get angry? What's she going to do? And we both just froze. And then we just laughed because that was a really funny thing to happen. It just made like a little plop sound. But the moment was so intense.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
But she said that was the first time that she laughed in days. And so sometimes laughter is good in terms of it's healing. Yeah. But then sometimes it's not so good because you are using it as an escape from the feeling in the moment. So I think, you have to watch when you are using it. Like in that moment, it was needed because it was such an intense time. You know, we had never experienced anything like that. I had never held a baby that was full term and not alive. I didn't know what to do. And she was really young at the time. She was like 31 at the time. I was early 20s, maybe mid 20s. But it was just such a big, intense time. And so just a little crack of laughter actually it just changed everything. And not that it made everything better, because it didn't. Not that it took away the pain, because it didn't. It's not that she didn't go away and cry, probably, or we didn't go away and grieve as a family. But in that moment, that laughter was just like very refreshing. And it was like, oh, we can laugh. You kind of forget that in moments of grief, you can forget that we're just people. But laughter can connect you again, and it makes you realize, oh, you're a person and I'm a person, and we're just trying to do life. We're just new to this, and so let's connect. But yeah, so there are times where it's good, times where it's not so good, and you need to watch the times, I guess, where you're trying to use it to escape from your feelings.
You spoke about, obviously, your fiance. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
How did you guys meet?
Hinge.
Wow, I love that.
We're a Hinge love story.
Interesting.
Yes. So, yeah, we were on Hinge. I saw him first because I was just, I had a rule at the time of not to like more than one guy a day.
Sorry.
It's not funny because this was my rule, because my experience on Hinge or dating apps was that I wouldn't like men, first and foremost. But I was in therapy at the time, and my therapist says, one of your problems is that you go for the men that are going for you, and you're picking the one that is the most persistent. Okay. And I was like, you're right. Because I would assume that the one that was the most persistent would appreciate me the most. If you are this adamant that you want to be with me, cool, I'll give you a shot. But that isn't the right way to go. So she said, what do you want? What is it that you're looking for? What do you need? What do you want in a man? And so I went onto this app and I said, right, I'm not going to pick from the guys that like me. Yeah. And, you know, they were all there and you'd get the notifications through. And I said, nope, I'm going to just like men myself. Okay. And I said, if I just like loads of different men, it's going to get very overwhelming. Yeah. So let me just like one guy every few days. And if he matches with me, cool. Great. And if he doesn't, I'll like someone else. And so I was a few days into this app. Maybe a few weeks, actually. I can't really remember. But I liked him. And I saw his profile. And he went to the gym. I thought, great. He sang. I thought, great. That's creative. He played guitar. I thought, great. Wonderful. He was very attractive. And I thought, great. Wonderful. What a lovely looking man. And... And he was a Christian. He said he was looking for a life partner. He was in my age range. And he just seemed like a really great guy. Yeah. So I thought, I like him. Sure. Yeah. And then he matched. And then I remember the first conversation that we had, because on Hinge, things can get very like, hi, what are you up to?
Mundane.
Nothing. Yeah. Very mundane. Yeah. And so I had those conversations going, and I was just like, I'm uninspired by these men. I don't like any of them. And I just... Nothing is exciting me here. What is this thing that I'm on? But his first question to me was, so what do you think of the royal family? And I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah. So we had a conversation about the relevance of the royal family, what they bring to the UK. And it was just a really interesting conversation. And it kind of made me go, oh, I'll sit up and pay attention
to this one.
Yeah. I'll sit up to this one. And yeah, that's how we met online.
I always find it like, I've never experienced online dating. Obviously, hopefully, if I stay, you know, things are still good.
God, you will stay.
If hopefully, God willing. But I've got friends that have, and they're married now, and they met their partners through online dating, and they've found life partners and people that they love. And it really fascinates me. What is that first meetup like?
Quite awkward.
Are you anxious?
Very, because you don't know. I mean, I think me and him we did. So our first phone conversation was terrible. Okay. Really bad, because I actually forgot. So we had arranged to have a phone call Thursday night, 9 p.m. And we both said, cool, we're both free. I forgot. I wasn't free. Yeah. Actually, I had a comedy show. So he messaged me at like 8:30 saying, oh, are you ready for the call at 9? And I was like, oh,
Well,
no, I'm actually about to go on stage.
Yeah.
And he said afterwards that he had just woken up from a nap.
Okay.
And he woke up and he was like, oh,
The call.
And so we were just really unprepared. And I had a really old car back then. And it used to make a lot of noise when I drove. And so I had him, my Bluetooth thing wasn't working. So I had to just put him on loudspeaker. I was trying to drive home from, where was I? Nottingham.
Yeah.
At like 9:30, trying to get back for work the next day. And it was just really loud. I couldn't hear him. He couldn't hear me. It was really awkward. And then he burst out laughing. And I remember thinking, why is this guy laughing? Like, what a weird, why is he doing this? Like, and he was like, shall we just rearrange the call? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Maybe.
All right, maybe. So we rearranged the call. And in my head, when we hung up, I thought, right, I'm never going to talk to him ever again, because why did he just laugh like that?
Yeah.
Why was he so awkward?
Yeah.
Why? Clearly, we didn't have that click that
Right.
you imagine that you'll have when you first get on the phone with someone. So I says, yeah, that's not gonna go anywhere. Another one bites the dust. But then we got back on Hinge, like my guy for the day. But then we got onto the phone, I think the next day or the day after, and it was a really great conversation.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, cool, great. No, we do get along. And it was just the circumstance that made it really awkward. Thank God that I didn't just write him off and be like, well, that was really dry.
Was that your default mechanism before?
Yeah, because I used to think that when you meet someone, you immediately need to have this thing, this immediate like connection. Yeah. It has to be off the bat, bam. And so when you're talking on the phone to someone, if you don't have that immediate thing, I was like, well, why would I continue? I used to think banter was like number one. If you don't have banter,
then forget it.
Yeah. This is dead. Whereas actually, what I've now learned is that immediate thing that you sometimes feel can be a combination of lust. It can be a combination of just wanting to sleep with them. It can be a combination of all these different things that is actually not the click that you think it is. Yeah. And if you're going to now be led based off of, oh, we had banter when we first met. All right, but is that going to carry you through life? Like, okay, you can have banter anywhere you go in life. It's not the top thing, and that can develop your relationship with someone, and the banter and the sorry, my phone. That grows. So you can work on that. If you don't have that banter off the bat straight away, give yourself, as long as you get along as friends, that grows. Like any friendship, like a friendship that you know, some best friends that I've got in my life now, when we first met, it wasn't click, click. We knew that we liked each other as people, and we knew that there was a commonality with us, but it wasn't an immediate bang, now we're best friends. Yeah. It grew into the friendship that we have now. So yeah, I used to do that, and I used to read so much into immediate banter. Now, well, obviously, I mean, I'm getting married, so I don't need to think about this now. But when I met him, I was in therapy at the time, and we spoke through this, and she was like, you can't put your be all and end all on whether or not you got banter today, because what if they're not top form? What if you're not top form? What if, like, there's so many different things to factor in. So when me and him met, I knew that I really liked his character. I knew I found him attractive. I knew that we had a lot of common ground in terms of intellectual conversation and spiritual beliefs and values and boundaries and all these different things that really matter. And when we got on the phone the second time, not the first time, because the first time I was like, no. Second time, it was a really great conversation. It was very enriching. It was fulfilling. This is going to sound really bad, but when I would talk to guys on the phone before, I'd be playing games.
Because it's so dry.
Really and I'd be like, oh, let me play Ludo on my phone, which is terrible. And it's really bad because I shouldn't have done that. And as a interviewer, I should have given them my full attention, but I just would find myself drifting. I would just drift away and like be scrolling, but with him I weren't doing that. And so I knew that there was something that I was very drawn to above the rest of them. So when we met, it wasn't like immediate bang 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 banter, but it was, we just fit in so many different deeper ways. We just gelled. We had similar life views, similar values, boundaries. The conversation just flowed. You know, it wasn't the most laughter heavy date, no, but it was just very good And I remember walking away thinking, that is a really good man.
Love that.
And we have a really great connection. And over the last year and a bit that we've known each other, we've kind of learned each other's humor. And now we have that, you know, banter connection that people have maybe, or that they're looking to have at the beginning. That just grows if you have similar characters and personalities, which we really do. We have a similar temperament in many different ways. He's more calm than me.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more, But, yeah. So I used to look for that. And then I stopped. And then I found this really great guy.
Did you know that the proposal was coming? Did you sense it?
I did sense it a little bit.
Did you?
I remember I said to my friend, literally, I think the week before, I said, I feel like he's going to propose soon. I just have a feeling. And I thought this because he kept sending me memes. He always sends me memes on Instagram or like funny videos. Like throughout the day, this is how we communicate. Just like, oh, this is funny. This is funny. This is funny. But he kept sending me one saying, when my wife, or when my husband,
yeah.
And so I was thinking,
and it wasn't like that in the beginning.
No. And I was thinking, is he sending these because he's going to ask me to marry him?
Oh, okay.
But we had spoken so much about marriage.
Yeah.
And our timelines kind of, so it wasn't like a out of the blue surprise. Because I knew it was coming, and I knew that we had a plan to like get married and have kids and do all this thing, and we're getting older. So I knew, but I didn't know when it was going to happen. I just had a sense. I was like, I feel like it's going to happen soon, man.
And were you prepared for the yes? Or was it like...
No, I knew I was going to say yes.
Oh, okay.
I knew I even told him, listen, whenever you ask me, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
You let me know, because you are the best man I've ever met.
Yeah.
And I know everyone thinks this about their partner, and it's true for everyone, but I've never been able to say this and feel the conviction. This is the best man I've ever met. Like, he's just so for me. He's the best man for me. Yeah. And it just feels really great that I can say that and believe it and it be real. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is the guy. This is the guy that I feel as though I should have met when I was like 20. And we should have just got married and had kids at like 25. We should have had that life together. But we didn't, and we went through our own individual journeys, and we met a little bit later, and that's okay. So, yeah.
Isn't it so nice to have a person?
It's very nice to have a person.
Especially as Black women. I feel like we've come from this, you know, I'm an independent, strong Black woman kind of narrative. And we don't see enough women going, actually, we need a person. Like, it's so good to have a person. Don't be alone.
But you know what's interesting? I'm mixed race. Yeah. So I have never always identified with the strong Black woman archetype because I'm half white. I don't know why I say white like that, but I just do. I can identify with the fact that I've always, sometimes I felt like, you don't need a man, or I shouldn't want a man, or I shouldn't have anyone to rely on, because the partners that I've had in the past have just let me down. And so, you know, I think for a lot of Black women that comes more because the world tells Black women that you need to be strong and, you know, you are meant to be the backbone and you're meant to just take all this stuff. Me as a mixed race woman, I haven't got the same messages. So I think mine didn't come from being a Black woman. It came from just me as a person thinking, I can't be weak. I can't just have a person I shouldn't need someone. I shouldn't need to be in a relationship. But actually, it's all right to say, I want someone. Because as a woman, I think sometimes when you say that, you're made to feel like you're being quite desperate. If you 100%. Say, I want a partner. I want to be married. I want to have children. Or not even children. I just want someone in my life that's a stable and consistent person. You're just made to feel like, oh, you shouldn't want that because that's a bit desperate. But it's okay. We should want people. Because the Bible says
we wasn't built to be alone.
We wasn't built to be alone. It's not good for man to be alone. And we should take that and say it's okay if we have the desire to want to be in a relationship or find a life partner. That's okay. It's okay. And you can find someone where it's just safe and you can relax into them and you can just trust them. And you can just not worry that they're going to do something just nuts and shatter your whole world. Like, he's a very stable, safe guy. He has his own values, his own beliefs. And I'm not concerned that one day he's going to get up and just do something nuts, because that's not him. So that element of it is really great. Just being able to relax into someone and say, okay, I can chill.
I feel like it's really nice as well when we know that God is central in our relationships, that we don't trust the man solely, but it's the God in the man that we trust. Definitely from a perspective of just being able to just relax and know that you're safe in someone. A lot of other circumstances will be like, oh, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? But I know for me personally, I definitely trust the God inside my husband rather than him solely. Scratchy patchy people.
Yeah.
What birthed that?
Well, it started out as a skin page to follow my eczema journey, because I got to a place where I was really frustrated with it and I didn't know why I had it.
Yeah.
And I always thought I'd grow out of it because that's what you told as a child. Oh, you'll get older and it will disappear. Mine didn't. And I was sat there at like 27, still with eczema, looking around thinking, why do I have this? And the doctors will say, just use steroid creams. It's fine. There's no cure. And I was just so frustrated at life. My hands were cracking. Everything was really painful. And I said, no, I'm actually going to take control of this condition now. I don't know how. I haven't got any teaching on it, but I'm going to do that. So I started this page to document the journey. And a lot of people followed it. I remember when I first started it, in like the first day, there was like 1,000 people. It stayed at 1,000, but those people followed within the first day.
Wow.
And I was like, man, a lot of people want to follow me on this journey. So I started to just document it. Everything I was trying, all the different health things I was doing. I cut out certain foods, I added in certain foods. And it was just at first me going through that process. And then I changed it this year actually, because I wanted it to be more, and I haven't done with it what I want to do yet.
Okay.
But I wanted it to be more of a embracing the fact that we're not all perfect, quote unquote.
Yeah.
We are scratchy. There are patches everywhere, and we're just people. And that's essentially it. It's not letting that, or these words, or whatever people may say about your skin, whatever condition you may have, it's not letting that define who you are. Because when you've got any kind of skin condition, whether it be acne, eczema, psoriasis, whatever it may be, people will, if you're on the internet or anywhere in life, they will look and they will point it out.
Have something to say.
And when I was going on dates, actually, I remember I'd talk with my hands quite a bit. And so sometimes I'd be talking with my hands and you would see their eyes look.
Really?
Yeah, like you'd see them notice it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think it's just acknowledging that, this is who we are, giving people back that, I guess, empowerment to claim that and say, that is who we are. It's all right. You don't even have to try and fix it if you don't want to. It can just be like, you can just have eczema, and it's not like we're always having to do things to get rid of it. It can just be, so what, you've got that. All right, cool. Let's get on with life. So it came from that, just first documenting, and then second wanting to just be a source of people coming and recognizing themselves and saying, I have that, and that looks like my skin, and it's okay to look like that and be on the internet, because I didn't think it was like an inspirational thing.
It is.
Well, I didn't think it was, because I just have eczema and I'm just doing life. But people often say to me, oh, it's really great that you're doing comedy and you're up on the stage with your skin. And I'm like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What else? To take it off? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what do you mean? Yeah, I've got skin. But to them, it's like, oh, look how she's holding the mic and her hand is on display. Yeah. How else am I meant to, what am I supposed to do? So for me, I'm just living life. But there are people that it really gets them down, and I can understand why, but it affects their whole world to a point where I had people messaging me saying, I don't go on dates because I'm scared that they're not going to love me. Whereas me, I was just out here dating because it just didn't factor into my brain that someone wouldn't love me because of that. It didn't even cross my mind, which maybe it should have, but it didn't. I used to just think, well, why would they not love me? Because I've got eczema. That's really silly. But for some people, it does change the whole wide world. And so I think just putting out there that you can just be in it, you can live, and you don't have to let it dictate everything in life. You can just live your life and go about your day, and you're fine.
What's your vision for it? Where do you see it going in the next 5 years?
well, if I put the effort in, which
at
the moment I ain't been
find
doing,
the time for it.
If I have the time, I would love to see it build into a international community of people who, you know, share their stories. I would love to do mini conferences or like retreats with people going away, relaxing, because a massive part of having ex-marriage is reducing your stress and inflammation in your body. So going away, taking people out on retreats, you know, that it's just building that community of people that are saying, yeah, this is us. We're not cool being this, or maybe we are cool being this, whatever part of the journey you're on. This is what we're dealing with right now. And it's life. So let's embrace the imperfections rather than try and squirrel them away and letting them make us feel unconfident.
What would you say is next for Cassandra?
Oh, I don't know.
Of course, you're getting married, which is a big thing.
Yeah, I'm getting married, so brokenness.
Hear it?
Because weddings are expensive. Poverty. No, it's not like, it's what's next for me. I'll probably say, I mean, right now I'm working at Premier Gospel and I really want to take the station. It's already such an incredible station, but I want to develop who we are to the younger generation.
Okay.
And so that's my next plan in terms of that. In terms of me and my, I say side hustle, but my other thing that I do, which is comedy and all these different things, I would love to become more of a thought leader in the Christian world.
Oh, okay.
About stuff that I'm really passionate about in the Christian circle. Comedy-wise, like finding the right churches to go to, like not as a woman going into church and being taken by these young guys that want to get married. Take some time out just to chill and find yourself before you get sucked into that whole world of the pastor's son wanting to marry you. Like, no, go away. Like, let me chill. Like,
can I just be here?
Can I just read the Bible a bit, please?
Please. Just
like,
get my patty.
You know, like, why are you trying to marry me? Like, go away. But just that, I guess, growing as a Christian and not feeling as though you have to be a particular way. Okay. I do comedy. And so a lot of people think that being a Christian, being a comedian isn't a thing. Yeah. But it can be a thing. I think as a Christian, you can just be you. It doesn't mean that you have to be a particular anything. Just live your life, believe what you believe, be a good person, do your thing. So that, and then do more content. Yeah. So I guess that kind of ties in with the thought leader stuff, because the more content that I do, the more I'll become that. And the more I speak my thoughts, the more that will be a dominoes effect. It's just me doing the stuff that I need to actually do. But yeah, they're the two main things, just really helping Premier Gospel push and then becoming my own kind of more of a brand in the Christian world. Space. Okay. Yeah.
Exciting. I always ask my guests to leave our listeners with one nugget of wisdom.
I think what's relevant to me right now, and so this is the wisdom that I would give from my current place, and you can take this or leave it, but do things that feel right in your soul. And so whether that be voluntary work, or whether that be a particular career path, or whether that be, I don't know, anything, just take time out to discover what you want to do with your life. Yeah. And how you want to feel in life. I think that's really important to do life. Whether it be, like for me, for example, I love art. And so what feels really right to me sometimes is painting. Yeah. And just connecting with that. And I think doing things that feel right for you in yourself will help you manage the whole of your life. And it's not saying, well, I don't have time for that, or I don't have time for this, or I don't have time to be creative today. Do things that feel right for your soul. Yeah. Find the time to do it, because life will just go, and you want to make sure that you are peaceful and centered as you're going through it. And I think that God has given us certain little things that we like to do to help us heal as we go along the journey. I love that. So that would be my wisdom.
Cass, thank you so much.
Thank you.